instead of like using these knowledge to as morality police or to shame people, especially women, why not explain that, that the two most powerful energies in the world is sexual energy and our words. Say that. Speech, the power of speech. To say that. That way things will start making sense naturally. And then I would understand a lot of other things instead of shaming women and making it be about like you were, you were insert S word, you were this, you were that, all of those derogatory words that I don't even need to say. Why not explain that, well, you know what, by actually exposing your body, you actually opening up your energetic field to all sorts of things, because it is so powerful. Then this is the reason why concealing it is equally important. Why don't you explain things that way? Why don't you explain that by exposing your field like this, your energetic fields in various ways? AKA one example could be, for example, like your body, right, which is an energetic field. By exposing it like that, you're exposing yourself to all sorts of things. Your field is open, wide open. You're exposing it to things like evil speech. You're exposing it to all sorts of, crazy things that are entering your evil eye. You're exposing it to evil eye. Explain that to people. Best believe I can tell you that if you explain that to me, I would have been the first person to just like, be a bit more mindful about what I'm wearing. I would be the first person because I'm obsessed with energy. It's not about religion to me. Like, explain that there are actual reasons behind these things. Now I understand now that I'm studying all these things on like a foundational level, at the seed level. What I mean by that is that going really, really deep and, bypassing trends, bypassing different, going really at the base level. Now I understand so many things. Now I see why so many religions took things out of proportion and used these teachings as a way to, to control women. Whereas, because this is where like the male ego, because let's be honest, most of those institutions were historically run by male. Now, I don't want to make this like a gender war. That's not the point. But my point is things got messed up because humans have a huge ego. And this is where you insert control. You insert one side trying to control the other side because they actually understand how much, they need the other side. In fact, both sides need each other. And then we end up with that mess. Instead, let's say in a perfect world where we didn't have as much ego, and then people were able to come to you and explain that, listen, everything in the world is energies. And, the two most powerful energies in the world are pretty much sexual energies, like that we have as humans on this planet. A sexual energy, like, hello, we create life. We bring new people in this world, all based on sexual energy. Like, we don't understand how this works, but like people, I feel like the average person can agree that yes, sexual energy is definitely powerful. We don't understand it fully. We don't fully grasp it, but I definitely know that the marketing companies, they understand it. They grasp it, because why is it that in every single marketing thing, in every single rap video, why do we see women being used as a magnet? The slogan of sex sells. Well, they use it everywhere. You'd see a car commercial coming up, and you see like a beautiful woman selling the products. You always see, it's always like they know sexual energy is the one of the biggest, the highest form, the most powerful energies in the world. Sexual energy, and again, the power of our speech, the power of our words. We don't understand how. I'm going to do so many more episodes on the power of our words. But going back to this is the reason why I feel like I'm not here attacking any religion, but this is why I make such a big difference between religion and spirituality. Religion so often has been deeply rooted into a form of control at some level. And I feel like a lot of the true teachings were kind of lost. And if they were thought in like a more simple way, many more people would identify to them. Less people would feel so lost in life. Now, if you're coming at women and telling them, dress up, if you're coming at women and telling them dress up, cover up because your body is shameful, or dress up, cover up, save yourself for your husband. Well, a lot of people are not going to identify with that. Because it sounds controlling. And this is why we're seeing the chaos we're seeing right now. Like, so many people feel lost. So many people want nothing to do with religion. They don't feel like it serves their lives. Of course, we still have a lot of religious places. Like, the point of this today is not attacking religion. I'm just saying that a lot of those initial concepts, a lot of these initial truths were kind of like taken to another level and used as a tool to divide us as humans instead of bringing us together. Because hello, like, religions have been fighting each other for like since the beginning of time, when it's like we're all the same. Like, even when I'm thinking about the three like Abrahamic religions, all fighting each other, but it's the same source, it's the same seed level. Why are we fighting? We're all brothers and sisters. Anyways, I don't want to make this a religious battle. It's not my goal here at all. But this is why I just want to say, this is why I keep re-emphasizing the difference between religion and spirituality. I feel like spirituality brings everyone together, because we're not hang up fighting on, oh, what religion are you? This is all irrelevant. It's so irrelevant. And at the end of the day, we're all humans with like, flesh, bones. Like, it's all irrelevant to me. And I feel like we're just getting distracted, instead of focusing on what truly matters. So, where I'm going, back to the two most powerful forces in the world: sexual energy for us humans in this physical simulation level, which is what we call reality, right? The two most powerful forces, sexual energy. By the way, that's also why I literally I do have a further training on that, how to, like, a way to help you bring back your energy and stop leaking so much energy. There is like a 5 free day training on that. You could definitely check the link below. And for sake of transparency, I've learned so much stuff about that, and I've even created a course on that too, because this is what I wanted to hear back then. This is the information that could have helped me as a late teen, 18, 19, in my early 20s, all throughout my 20s. This could have helped so many people. This could have helped so many women just like not lose themselves in like the madness of the world, in crazy like situationship, one night stand after one night stands. Again, if this is how you choose to live your life, I'm not judging. This is not the point. But again, I wish we were told from a young age that, oh, guess what? Do you know that when you sleep with someone, the energy of that person stays with you for 7 years? Do you know that? You know what I mean? It's not about morality. It's not about religion. It's not about, oh, you an S word, you like a W word. And so all of those like derogatory words that we heard about women all the time. It's not about shaming people. Again, it is not about morality. I only care about energies. This is the reason why I'm always wondering, why is it that once you have, this episode is based, I'm taking the women, the women perspective, because I'm a woman. This is what I know, but I don't want to turn this into a gender war. I'm definitely going to be elaborating more on this as time goes on. But what I'm saying is, why I always thought it was interesting when I'm talking to my girlfriends, let's say someone would have a one night stand, and it always feels draining to them afterwards. It's never peaceful. It's never blissful. It's never, oh my God, I'm so happy. Yeah, it might be happiness temporarily, maybe right after the fact, but it's never a long-term happiness, bliss, like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I just met this guy in the bar and then we exchanged a private moment. I'm so like, my life purpose is completed now. Again, I'm not judging anybody. I believe like anyone can do anything under the right circumstances. We're all in this together. What I care about, what I've always was fascinated about was, again, the energetics. If you like a close friend of mine, my friends get so annoyed the second I start talking about energy, because I feel these things. And I've always been the kid to have all these questions from a young age. I think this is why when I discovered Kabbalah, everything started making sense of me, because I finally found a system that was focused on explaining those energetic rules that I finally found a system that was focused on explaining those energetic rules, answering all these questions I've been having even as a kid, that I think that as my upbringing was as a Catholic girl, and so many of these questions I used to ask at school, and I used to be scolded for that. They would tell me, stop asking questions. You don't need to know. Stop asking questions. And that's just the way I'm wired. So this is why I'm so thankful that I found Kabbalah. I'm always bringing up Kabbalah. It's for sake of transparency, and also because other people ask, and in case of other people are looking for, to explore a new spiritual path. I'm not bringing the word Kabbalah as a way to convince anybody. This is not my goal here. And again, Kabbalah it's not a religion. It's like a spiritual system explaining how all of these things work. For example, like, all these rules, these energetic rules. For example, now I finally could understand, why is it that my friends always feel drained? After they've spent a lot of time in the wrong relationship, after they spent a lot of time in, I don't know, like one night stands or a situationship, because again, those relationships never seemed happy to me. That's why I started questioning. If it was all happy, then we wouldn't have this conversation today. And I think we all aware of that, even the people that are very defensive about that. Again, this episode today is not for everyone. You don't have to agree with everything I'm saying, but at least keep an open mind. But we all know on some level, even by looking at mainstream culture and mainstream train of thoughts, because we all have personal train of thoughts, and there's also like a mainstream train of thoughts. I think this is where Instagram and social media does a really great job at showing us what is the current trend now, what is the current mainstream, train of thought. And I always see the same pattern. People are not happy. Everyone is like, well, not everyone, but like there is a major epidemic about loneliness. Now we're living at a time where we have so much freedom, we have so much options, but it's also the major paradox of the century, the illusion of choices, the illusion of options. We have so many choices, we don't want to settle. Now the culture is mostly, situationships. Let's do things. Let's not, no strings attached. Let's have an open relationship so we have our cakes and we eat it all. But all these things always seem to short circuit. And now I finally, again, I'm going to say that 1,000 times. My goal here is not morality. I'm not the morality police. Okay. I'm not the religious police either. I'm not here judging anybody. I'm trying to understand the only thing that really mattered to me. My only thesis throughout this entire ordeal was pretty much understanding why. Why is it like, is the system broken like that? Why is it that us humans, we fail to? Why are we not happy? Because why are we not satisfied? Even if we're not using the word happiness, why are we not satisfied? Why are people so miserable? Why are people so depressed? And it's crazy because it's absolutely crazy. Like I said, we're living at a time where so many more options. Like, I'm not romanticizing relationships of the past either, because this is a problem that I think I don't want to fall into that. A lot of us tend to romanticize, oh, my grandparents we were together for 50 years. Yeah, but a lot of those relationships were also dysfunctional because a lot of the women they were mistreated. They were being abused, but they didn't have any options. They couldn't leave because financially they were attached. They didn't have a way to earn. They didn't have, so it wasn't as easy. Divorce was taboo. In a lot of places, it still is taboo today. So they were kind of like locked down and chained down. So that is a major reason why we didn't see as much, separation back then. This is also a reason why things seem to have been more stable back then. But also, I also do believe that maybe in the past people were more willing to make the relationship work. I don't know. You let me know. I want this to be a conversation like a two-way street. Leave me a comments down below. Please don't leave me any rage comment. Okay, let's have a conversation in a civilized way. I do know these topics are very sensitive. I'm not coming at people judging anybody. I also have my own history. Everyone has their own history, so please remember that the reason why I'm talking about all these topics, because again, the reason why I'm talking about this, because I feel that these are the topics that are uncomfortable, that people don't want to talk about, but we need to talk about them because people are going through these things. And I think this is why technology is amazing to me. This is the use I want to see. This is how I want to see technology being used, is to be able to talk about things that we didn't have the possibility to talk to in the past, and to be able to have a greater outreach. I get so excited thinking about it, but I always think like my soul came here in this lifetime for the internet. Every time I sit down at least once a day, I'm in awe. My mind is absolutely blown away. Every time I'm in a Zoom group, I'm like, guys, can we take a second to realize that we are in a Zoom group right now on this thing connected via this thing called internet, and you seeing me? Like, what? A few years ago, we didn't have these options. We didn't even have a home phone. We didn't have cell phone, obviously, because it's even more recent. We didn't have a means to communicate like so far away. And not only that, but we can actually see each other virtually in this weird box. Like, what? I always lose my mind, and people always look at me like, okay, yeah, okay, cool. So I've made peace with that. This is the reason why my soul wanted to reincarnate in this area right now. My soul probably heard, wherever they're chilling, having a party, whatever they do up there, my soul heard, wait a minute, what? This thing called internet where you can communicate with people, and then after that there's this thing called airplane where you can travel and teleport yourself, and it like, sign me up, please, light, I want to go down again. This is how I like to imagine the whole scene. But by the way, funny fact, my chart literally shows so many of these aspects. It's not even funny. Like, so many of my charts, so many points. It's like someone took the time to make sure that all of the communication things would be perfectly aligned. The planets, my Mercury would be aligned in the right house under the right planet. My sun would fall under the right house. All of these things. So communication could be a big part of my life. So it's not a surprise that I'm here. I am doing a podcast talking about sensitive topics that I know will trigger people. This is, I literally feel like this is, it's all part of my calling. Again, I hope you're not taking the topic of the day personally. That's not the point. That's not my intent here. And also, in case you wanted to know more about your birth chart, I always say that in every episode that I also do birth chart readings, so we can verify that together. All the links are down below. Now, going back to the topic. By the way, this episode is it's literally I didn't even plan anything. I didn't even plan any outline. I've been wanting to start tackling those topics in a long time. It's such a heavy topic. I didn't know how to tackle it. I'm literally in my closet right now, because usually I make a proper YouTube video for every one of my episodes, but I don't even have a video because I'm literally in my closet, gathering clothes to give away, decluttering, and I started talking by myself. And I'm like, no. You know why? Because I didn't know how to start tackling this type of topics, because they're so complicated. Like, where do you start? And then I started talking by myself, and I'm like, you know what? Hold up. Let me just pull up the voice memo. I'm not even recording this how I usually record, but I felt compelled to start sharing and break the ice, because this topic is so important to me, and I think it's linked to everything that I'm saying and why I'm so obsessed with energy. So this is what I'm saying. And you know what, going back to the whole 7 year thing, I think it's fascinating. So this is why I love Kabbalah so much. Again, please. Okay, I'm not here trying to convince anybody. I will keep bringing Kabbalah and Kabbalah because this is my system. This is my spiritual system. I do that for the sake of transparency, and also because back then I was looking for a system, for a spiritual system. I wish more people were transparent about that, and also for transparency. I said that already, right? And also because that's what guides me. It's not me that's inventing these things. I don't know anything. I'm literally just a channel sharing what I'm learning. Like, I don't know anything. I'm literally just a channel sharing what I'm learning in the hope that it would help even one soul out there, because God knows how much this would have saved my life had I known this information in my early 20s. So yes, and going back to what I mentioned before, the whole like when we exchange intimacy with someone, how we literally enter their field, especially us as a woman, because again, we're a vessel. Like, we don't have to make this political or religious, to be honest. We just look at our biology, right? Women has like a cavity, and then men has like this thing that comes out, and then like, it's the woman that receives and the man gives, when we're talking about intimacy. So when we say the woman, the way we're built, the woman is a vessel, like, I'm not making any political statement here. I'm not making any like, outrageous morality statement here. I'm just talking like simple facts. So we receive, we're a vessel, we're the one that carry life, we're the one that continue like, societies, we're the one that birth society. So also at the same time, we are also more at risk in a lot of ways. We are receiving. So I thought it was interesting how in Kabbalah, they already mentioned all these things, how when we enter like, someone's intimacy field, it's literally like a kind of like of a contract. People are always talking about soul contract this, soul contract that. Well, these are actually real. Here you go. When you actually sleep with someone in the one night stand, again, I'm going to say that a million times. I'm not talking about morality. I'm not calling anyone S word, W word. I don't care about any of these things. Okay. This is not about religion or morality here. I'm talking about energies, period. And I have to talk about these things because I have a course talking about like energies and how to stop leaking energies and all these things and manifesting, but from like the energetic point. So of course I have to talk about these things, even if they're sensitive topics, right? So when we're intimate with someone, it's literally like we have a soul. We do like a soul contract with them. We merge our souls together, and then like we pretty much keep part of them, and then it's like a soul contract, a binding that happens, and then it kind of stays for like 7 years. I'm not saying this to scare you, but this is literally what Kabbalah, which is like the ancient system explaining how the spiritual rules of this planet work, how everything works. Like, how we have physical rules like gravity, well, we also have spiritual rules. The word spiritual, I wish there was another word for that. I have to look for another word for that, because people often associate spiritual with religion, and I find that it doesn't serve me when I'm making these type of content, because by using the word spiritual, I just want you to understand, spiritual to me here means the rules that we cannot see, the things that we cannot see. So it governs like that, the rules that you can see. How you meet someone, like everyone knows that. Like some of us are a bit more skeptical and a bit more like smart, and then be like, like, oh no, I don't believe in these things. But it's a fact. How like your dog can sense danger? Well, it's not just your dog. We also have this capacity, right? Because we're all energies. Like, we're all energetic beings. How you meet someone and you don't know, you're like, I don't know, this person doesn't like, nah, I don't want to get too close to that person. I'm getting a bad vibe. Well, these are all energetic, stuff. So when I mean spiritual, I mean there are actually sets of rules that explain a lot of the things we can see. So this is why I like Kabbalah so much, because it dives into these rules. So for example, how, when we like get intimate with someone, and we're pretty much abiding and linking, even if it was just one night and you're like, okay, bye, sayonara, hasta la vista, bye bye, au revoir. Even if you say all these things, you never see the person. You might not even know the person's name. Well, guess what? You still kind of stuck with that person energetic field that it's in your world. So when I found this out, and by the way, you know what? It's really cool what's happening right now because science is also catching up with a lot of those ancient knowledge that were already known. And by the way, which I think is interesting because even when I lived in Nepal a few years back, and the first thing I noticed when I got there is that people do not shake your hands. They would pretty much they would put their hand under heart, and bow slowly as a way to say, welcome you, and or they would just put their hands together in a prayer motion and bow their heads, but they do not touch you just like that for fun. Back then I didn't understand that, but when I started studying Kabbalah, I actually understood. It's because a lot of cultures throughout the world, they already created a system based on so many of those energetic rules, but I just feel like in the West we were so detached because we were just under the influence of religion, which is again, I'm not nothing against religion, but which I feel it took more of the aspect of control instead of making you understand things and be independent. You know what I mean? For example, when I did a religious pilgrimage with my mom recently, just because it was her dream, and then I took her on the trip just because she's getting older, and just I wanted to do that. At least that was her first time. It was really fun and really, and it was really thoughtful. It was a very great moment together. Let's just put it that way. Anyhow, and it was interesting watching her go through the motion mechanically. Again, I try my best not to judge because again, it's not my position to judge anybody. But a lot of the things they never really explain to us, teach us why we're doing this. It's just blind faith, which is okay, I guess there's a place and time for it, but this is why I like spirituality, and this is why I like Kabbalah so much, because I start understanding. When I started studying Kabbalah, I started understanding so many of the religious principles, so many of the things that were blindly taught to me in Catholic school, and just tell me don't ask questions, just do this. And I started understanding, oh, that's what that means. Oh, okay. And then it's just so, I thought it was interesting how, going back to then, like I said, I don't have any outline today, so please bear with me. So going back to the Nepal experience, I found it interesting and fascinating how they would not randomly touch people like that all day long, like that. For what? Again, because they understand in the way the culture is set up in the early teachings, and these are all cultures that already understand and accept that we are a reincarnated soul, and every time we come here, it's a lifetime, and they're more in touch with these aspects, with these teachings, so they understand that by holding hand with you already exchanging, your fields are merging together. So there's no reason to go on and hold hands with 20 people throughout the day. They take it very seriously. So can you imagine if in a culture like that, where they wouldn't even randomly, they would avoid entering other people's field just like that casually. Now, meanwhile, in the West, I'm here, and then people are here telling you, oh, well, you know what, when we're getting intimate, then we're actually exchanging fields. Obviously it makes sense, and I thought it was fascinating because even nowadays, even science is catching up with a lot of these things. It's very slow, but it's very cool to notice science catching up with a lot of these old timeless teachings. Because I'm sorry, I didn't have the time to pull up the study, but I remember you can easily search that on the internet, on the great internet. I remember reading that also in a research paper, how scientists have discovered that, let's say when like a man and a woman have, sexual relationship together, that and then let's say like there's ejaculation. I'm really sorry, I know these topics, people don't want to talk about them. I'm trying to talk about them in a less crude way, but we need to talk about these things in a way. So let's say there is, now they can still see remnants of sperm, inside of like the women's body, for it stays for the next 7 years. I was mind blown when I read this. So, all this to say that it's really cool to watch science slowly catch up with those energetic, rules that are just governing our world, whether we accept it or not. It's same as gravity. Gravity is there, whether someone doesn't want to agree with it or not. So this is what I wanted to share today, where I'm going with this. So, where am I going with this? Yeah, it's just wrapping up the whole how the two most powerful energies are sexual energy and the power of speech. Why I'm saying that, because we're always hearing about manifestation, this manifestation, that. These are important. Again, didn't make this episode to, make anyone feel terrible about themselves. Listen, we've all we all have a life. That's not the point. The point, I'm not about shame here on this podcast. I'm about like us knowing better, improving our lives, and growing. So when we know these two powerful forces, then we can finally start understanding, oh, why am I not manifesting? Because again, these energies are your life force. They are what help you manifest things, bring back down thing into the physical realm, because the physical realm is linked with the spiritual realm. There's no with the energies higher above. Again, this is why I think it's very important, because it's like we're relearning, right? It's all energies, so it's reflecting everything that is here in the physical plane is a reflection of your relationship with the spiritual realm. Again, I'm not talking in terms of like as a god in the sky that is like an old man with like a white beard, which is, I don't think really helps any one of us, but more understand like there is a system and there's rules. It's just like, and when you can manifest when you are aligned with these rules. It's just like it's like physics in a way. And again, we can start grasping these two very important life force energies, which is pretty much your fuel to manifest things in this life. We can start understanding, am I aligned? Am I not aligned? Because again, let's take a case D, of, let's say, I don't know, a girl, for example, who just, is going through like a time in her life where she's like, I don't know, let's say I had like, 10 one night stands in a month. Again, I'm not morally judging or anything like that. I'm just stating like a case example. But then a lot of time you would see absolute chaos surrounding that time period, and we don't understand. And then often you'd hear, I also see it too in my personal life with people I talk to in my private life, or clients or things like that. And then understanding, scratching our head, why is everything in my life going upside down? Again, it's not about morality, it's not about religion, but it's understanding that, because what is happening is that you are literally leaking your life force energy. Again, the two most powerful forces, sexual energy and the power of speech, but you are using your sexual energy and leaking it everywhere. And what often happens is that these other people, let's say these other encounters that you have, they're literally like a kind of like a vampire that is, it's like coming at a gas station getting energy, and then like their car is full, but then the gas station is just like not getting replenished. The gas station is leaking gas, is leaking energy everywhere. That is literally what's happening. So again, by doing that, because this is the life force energy you have, that's the fuel you have, then you end up with having chaos in so many areas of your life. You can't manifest your business. You can't manifest, a proper relationship that would make you happy and satisfied. You can't manifest this. You can start bringing all sorts of things like health issues. Like we have to understand that life is a fine line. It's always like a balance. it's like I'm thinking about those acrobatics, or just like walking on the line, and then we're down there looking at them like, oh my God, how are they doing it? How are they not falling? But these people are so focused, and it's like it's a fine line. It's like knowing how to walk the line, because there's so many things in this life that are there to make us, to kind of like sabotage us. We even have our own internal voice inside of us that is also sabotaging us. So, oh my goodness. That was a lot today. That was a lot. That was a lot. I'm not gonna lie. So please, I really hope that nobody took this personal. Again, for like the 100th time I'm repeating this. I can never repeat that enough. The purpose of this episode wasn't, to be a moral police. It wasn't to be, policing your body. Again, you're free to do whatever you want, run your life however you want, run your personal life, your intimate life however you want. I just feel like we need to know this information, that way everyone can make I just feel like we need to know this information, that way everyone can do better, can move intentionally, because knowledge is power, knowledge is freedom. And again, all of my teachers are always repeating this phrase, that consciousness is everything. When you have consciousness, you can just, make better choices and align yourself and be more empowered. On that note, again, if you need help, you feel stuck, please don't nobody go and beat themselves about. Like, the great thing is that as long as we're alive, we can always make better decisions. We can always start thriving. This is the point of life. It's this beautiful lesson. It's this beautiful school of life, this beautiful simulation where, no one is being punished. It's not about being punished. It's just about understanding that nothing personal. There are rules. It's like we're living in a game. It's like life is a game, and there are rules. If things haven't been working out for you, it's not because you unlucky, because the universe hates you. It's just because you didn't know the rules. Therefore, you were playing bad. It's the same thing if we just drop ourselves into like a chess game, and we don't know how chess works. We don't know chess rules. We don't know anything. Or a volleyball game, we have no idea. We end up in the volleyball game, but we think we're playing, basketball. Well, it's going to be hard to, anyways, we think we're playing like soccer, and then we're like losing, but we can't understand why we're losing. Nothing's wrong with you. It's just that you're not aware that you not using the right rules. There are rules in the game of life. And again, which is why I'm so obsessed with understanding the energies and energetic rules. And this is literally what Kabbalah is all about, honestly. And this is, as I learn, I use those, the things that I learn and incorporate them in real life struggles that I see around me, that I go through myself. And the goal is, again, the name of the podcast is to be a lighthouse, to be like a hope in the dark, and to know that, to never lose hope, because we can always do better. We can always strive to do better. We can always strive to be better. As long as we're breathing, it's never too late. And also, not only that, but we need to also make it fun and start embracing that. This is such an exciting game, and we can make it really fun if only we take the time to, to align our consciousness. On that note, like I said, you can always book a birth chart reading with me, which, by the way, your birth chart is literally your genetic map, your energetic map. So don't sleep on that. You need to know what you're working with. All the links are down below. And also, like I said, I do have a free 5-day course. Like, it's an email course where we're talking about leaking energy and how you can actually gain control back over your life. All the links are down below. On that note, my loves, leave me a comment. Again, please don't come at me or let's just have like proper human being in dignity and respect. I'm all for diverging opinions. I love that. I'm a very curious person. I love to know how other people think. It's just like, as long as everything is done in respect, I'm always welcoming of it. On that note, I will see you in the next one, and keep shining bright like a diamond. And bye.